Secretary Marcus, we have the frustrating responsibility on this committee of providing oversight of your agency, but I have to be honest and tell you I'm not sure exactly what you do at the Department of Homeland Security other than great harm. On your watch, the data is pretty clear. We've had record levels of illegal immigration, a rapid decline in deportations, skyrocketing fentanyl deaths across our country, and the Secret Service, which is a DHS component, can't determine who left cocaine at the White House. In the middle of all this, you created this Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, which is a division of DHS. And it's one of the Biden administration agencies that colluded with and coerced the social media companies to censor Americans' protected free speech online. That's specifically detailed in a 155-page court opinion that came out of the federal court in Louisiana in the landmark litigation of Missouri v. Biden. Have you read that court opinion?
Congressman, I have not, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency does not censor speech.
Okay, well, the court found otherwise, and it's really curious to me. Actually, it's quite alarming that you haven't read the opinion, because your agency is listed in this opinion. The federal court looked at volumes of evidence over months of litigation, and they determined, among other things, that if the allegations made by the plaintiffs, the states in this case, are true, and hold on, the preliminary injunction was granted against your agency, sir, and other Biden administration agencies, including the DOJ and FBI, the court said it involves the most massive attack against free speech in United States history. And you're telling me this opinion issued July 4th has not reached your desk? No one's briefed you on it?
Oh, I have been briefed on the Missouri litigation.
Okay, but you haven't taken the time to read it yet.
Congressman,
no, hold on. Have you read it or not?
I have read parts of it, Congressman.
Oh, parts of it. Did you read the parts where it said that this is Orwellian and dystopian and that your agency is involved in a massive cover-up of specifically conservatives' free speech online?
Congressman, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is not involved in such conduct.
Okay, well, the court found otherwise, and you stand here under oath and you give us these answers that we know are not true because this is demonstrably untrue. I'm suggesting to you that you're saying things to us under oath that are proven by the record to be untrue. Let me ask you about this specifically. CISA was created to, we call it the Misinformation and Disinformation Subcommittee of CISA. Are you familiar with that? MDM, the MDM subcommittee, you're familiar with that?
Congressman, I am very well aware of the threat of disinformation emanating from adverse nations.
Are you familiar with the subcommittee? Just answer the question.
I am.
Okay. Does it still exist?
Congressman, are you speaking of the...
Does the MDM subcommittee still exist?
I would have to get back to you on that.
Okay. All right. Kind of a big deal in your agency. I'm kind of shocked that you don't know the answer to that. Can you define what misinformation is?
Congressman, misinformation is false information that is disseminated to...
Excellent. Who determines what is false?
Congressman, our focus...
No, who determines what is false in your agency? If you're going to pull something off the internet and collude with a social media platform to make sure Americans don't see it, who determines what's false?
Congressman, we don't do that.
That's not true. That is not true. That is not what the court has found. This is not a Republican talking point. This is what the documents show. We've had people testify under oath that say, and you just defined the term, you're telling me that you don't know who determines what is false?
Congressman, what we do at CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is identify the tactics that adverse nation states use to weaponize disinformation.
Okay, what is disinformation? What is disinformation?
Disinformation is inaccurate information.
Who determines what's inaccurate? Who determines what's false? Do you understand the problem here? The reason the framers of our Constitution did not create an exception for quote-unquote false information from the First Amendment is because they didn't trust the government to determine what it is. And you have whole committees of people in your agency trying to determine what they define as false or misinformation.
That is not true.
Well, then what is true? Please enlighten us.
What we do is we disclose the tactics that adverse nation states are utilizing to weaponize information.
No, sir. The court found specifically, it's a finding of fact that is not disputed by the government defendants, the Biden administration, your agency, the FBI, or DHS, not in the litigation. They determined you and all of your cohorts made no distinction between domestic speech and foreign speech. So don't stand there and tell me under oath that you only focused on adversaries around the world, foreign actors. That's not true.
Congressman, the Missouri case, the litigation to which you refer, is the subject of continuing litigation.
But the facts were not disputed, and I so so regret that I'm out of time. I hope I get some more yielded. I yield back.
Dang, Speaker of the House, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he was good in that. He's good in that clip.
Yeah, he absolutely annihilated Mayorkas there. He's a constitutional lawyer, and he was, just getting right at the heart of the issue. Who decides what's true and false? And he would not let Mayorkas try to slither out of that. So that was pretty awesome. Now, that remains to be seen how he's going to vote as Speaker, which I guess we will know soon enough. The things he has said since becoming Speaker have not been all that encouraging, I have to say.
Yeah, it was quick.
Well, I mean, his first speech he gave, first thing he says, the first thing we're going to do is, not solve any of America's problems, but give more money and weapons to Israel. Although he did not mention Ukraine in that speech, and he's actually voted consistently against Ukraine aid. But we'll see. We will see what happens as Speaker. Although it should also be pointed out that it couldn't be worse than what McCarthy was up to as Speaker.
Yeah.
And the fact that we even have
Gates, when Gates basically said, I mean, it's been McCarthy was for the last 3 weeks, ever since he was removed, actively working against every other nominee they've had and trying to basically weasel his way back in to be Speaker.
Yeah, that's according to Matt Gaetz, and I would not be surprised. But we'll see. I mean, Thomas Massey endorsed him, Matt Gaetz endorsed him, and that clip was pretty powerful. And I would have to say also, we were certainly very upset that Jim Jordan's candidacy for Speaker got spiked, as Jordan's been outstanding on a great many issues over the years. He was actually always bad on one issue, and that was internet censorship and big tech stuff. So we shall see what happens, and we'll see where this all goes. But it is, first of all, just a good thing we have Speaker, because every day that this dragged on, the likelier and likelier it was getting that we were going to end up with someone cutting a deal with the Democrats and getting someone positively atrocious for Speaker. Plus, the budget's going to expire in 2 weeks, and the more the clock ticks down on that, the worse and worse that was most likely going to be. But yeah, we'll see. I see John King in the chat says, I don't take Matt Gaetz' word for it, but time will tell. Time will tell. And folks watching on Rumble, I see you in the chat as well. So welcome. Lisa Petronis says,
go ahead.
His first order of business should have been an America First agenda. I am not encouraged. Well, I agree. And I have to say, I mean, I've been very disheartened in the past few weeks watching the entire America First agenda just evaporate over the Israel issue. And all of a sudden, everything that Republicans said they stood for, like free speech, is just completely out the window. And now they're all about censoring speech, including Ron DeSantis surprising me by saying he wants to criminalize every pro-Palestinian student organization, which he just smeared as pro-Hamas, which is not something you can just assume.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because everything that Republicans used to say about what the Democrats were doing is now exactly what they're doing. Because it used to be whenever Democrats would say, oh, what you're saying is transphobic, what you're saying is racist, everything you say is racist and transphobic, therefore it's not protected speech. And Republicans would be saying, no, it's totally protected speech and people have a right to that opinion. Well, now everything you say is anti-Semitic and therefore it's not protected speech.
Right.
So they've just completely reversed themselves on everything that they've said. And I don't think it's going to lead to any good policy in the Middle East either, by the way. Every single day, this looks scarier and scarier. There's now talk of China sending, I think, subs to the area. Russians have now got hypersonic missiles that could strike into the region in the air, and it's getting white hot. And I don't see any way this looks good for us. We were already losing in Ukraine. We were nevertheless talking about going to war with China over Taiwan. Now let's just throw a third war into the mix. It's amazing. John says Caitlin Buss had a good column on it on censorship this weekend in the Detroit News. Well, I don't pay for the Detroit News, so I won't be able to see it. But
there's workarounds.
Good to know. Yeah. I'll
Are you
find
going to introduce our guest?
Yes, I'm so sorry. So busy with the cold open. Paula Nackey, chair of the Wayne 12th District Republican Committee.
County.
Wayne 12th County Republican District Committee. And it's good to have you on the show because we've talked for a lot over the past few weeks about what's been going on at the state party. And besides the mismanagement of funds, besides the meddling in county party affairs in Kalamazoo and elsewhere, one of the other things that's been kind of percolating in the state party for a long time is that some of the people involved in the state party at the top levels have been coming from this pretend Republican organization called the the Wayne County Republican Committee, or WCRIC is their acronym. And they are apparently, what's Jim Kopas's role? And you guys must probably both know.
He's the first vice chair.
First vice chair, okay. And he's also the executive director, is that right?
Correct.
Of the state party.
And he's the one whose wife loaned $110,000 for Mackinac.
Yeah, I don't remember if we covered this.
Which has been paid back.
It has been paid back.
It has been paid back.
Still,
per
From
Jim
where?
Kopas, it has been paid back.
Been paid back by whom?
Well, no, he said that the loan has been paid back.
there was some question, if you recall, during the live stream you had with everyone on that Wednesday night,
Yeah.
Adam, whether that amount of money was a loan or a donation or, I mean, something that it shouldn't be a question. Like everybody
$110,000, you should know whether it's a contribution or a loan. And that was the $110,000 to bring Jim Caviezel to Mackinac as a speaker.
And the weirdest thing about all of it is they could have had Rudy Giuliani and Dinesh D'Souza there for less than half of what it costs for Jim Caviezel.
Yeah. I wonder how many additional people signed up for the Mackinac conference just to see Jim Caviezel. I don't think it would be very many. But I heard that the person that loaned the money to the state party was Jim Kopas's wife.
Yep.
So where'd the money come from to pay her back?
That wasn't said. I think it was the money they took in at Mackinac, but that hasn't been brought to light yet. But Jim Kopas at the Wayne County Republican meeting, it was after the meeting, had confirmed that the money had been paid back already.
Yeah. Strange. Very, very strange. But the other thing is, I've heard a rumor that the state party is seeking to amend its bylaws to basically eliminate both of your county district committees and replace them with what effectively would just be WCRIC, this countywide organization.
Yeah. Well, it actually goes a little farther, Adam. It was confirmed that, and this was after the meeting in a conversation with several delegates, that Jim Kopas is writing new bylaws. They're hoping to have them at the December meeting. So, which means it has to go through policy. All of this has to go through the policy committee. Well, it should. It's supposed to. And it not only is it gonna, do they want to do away with have one county committee in Wayne County and do away with the Wayne 12th and the Wayne 6th. They also, it's more about centralizing everyone, all the county committees,
all of them,
district committees.
Not just changing Wayne. Yeah.
Now, see, because Wayne County, because of how the MCL it's 168 something.
Yeah.
If you have more than 1.5 million residents, then you get broken up. Your county parties get broken up by congressional districts. Now, Oakland is very close to that. They're at 1.3.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not just going to affect us. It's going to affect across the state.
Yeah. Well, the thing that is, I think might be interesting. In fact, let me put this up on the screen. There was this letter that was just recently signed. Let me bring it up here. This is from this organization that pretends to be the Wayne County-wide organization, the Wayne County Republican Committee, which apparently, and you guys will know better than me, was just started essentially as like a networking
It,
No.
mean,
it started back in 1991 as at that time, Wayne County was divided, I want to say, up into like 9 different congressional districts. It was a large amount. And obviously, the population of Wayne County was a lot bigger then too, right?
Yeah.
So it was created by the governor, or the governor wanted a means to recommend judges in Wayne County. And so they came up with this WICRIC thing. And WICRIC basically is there at the pleasure of the district county committees.
Yeah.
Right. It is an organization whose intent is judge nominations, and that's it. And so it has an important purpose. It's just not the purpose that it's become, or they're trying to make it. So anyway, and so as you know, as the years progressed and we've lost a congressional seat and this and that, like last time there were 4 districts. Now there's only 3.
Yeah.
Wayne 6, Wayne 12, and 13th congressional district, which is a county committee and a district committee because it's entirely within Wayne County.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of the history of it. It's
Wayne County is still a lot of ground to cover. I mean, there's still logistical, organizational reasons.
well, even divided. I mean, even divided into 3, as you know, Adam. Wayne 6 still has.
You're bigger than our whole county.
We're bigger than the entire Washtenaw County in terms of Republican voters. Yeah, and so that's the purpose. That if you unite Wayne County, I mean, it's anyway. The point was it was too big. Yep. So anyway, but what I would like to say, if you want to, I don't know what you wanted to say about this, but I do have an important comment of something that's incorrect on this.
Okay, well, I was just going to say what the essence of this letter is, and I can probably make it a little bit bigger, is we got to stop fighting about Christina, and we should stand by Christina, and Christina Caramo was elected, and therefore we should totally support Christina no matter what she does, is effectively what it says. And you guys can read it, or if you want, you can pause the video and you can read it on your own time, but there it is. So WICRIC, whose leadership is intertwined with the state party's leadership, is now also supporting Christina, which I think could lead in an interesting direction, because if the state party has to vote on taking away the Wayne County District committees and replacing them with this single entity, that vote in itself might actually function as a referendum on Christina herself, since that's what WICRIC is clearly about. And I see
well, the other thing is too, I mean, yeah, and I mean, if the first vice chair's wife loaned $110,000, I mean, you're buying influence, and
of course,
you know.
But and here's the thing: in the bylaws of the MIGOP right now, it states in Article 8. It actually, letter G, congressional district portions of Wayne County.
Right.
It acknowledges that there are congressional district portion that are county parties.
Yeah.
And then it has, a political party committee that may be formed for each congressional district portion of Wayne County. So it does say that. And then in H, it does say something about the Wayne County Republican Committee.
It just says it exists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It has no authority. It has nothing. I mean, in the most simplest way you can put it, on February 15th, Wayne 6th, well, unless something happens in December, Wayne 6th, Wayne 12th, and Wayne 13th, aka 13th Congressional District, will be having a county convention to send delegates to state convention. WICRIC will not. So, I mean, that's the answer, right? Right now. Now, if they vote to change it, they vote to change it. You know what I mean? But that's, and that's what's been disheartening for me the whole time, is just there's so many new delegates, and the continual misleading of these delegates is not right. So I don't think that's helpful. Now, what I do want to say about that resolution, if you could pop it back on the screen, please, for a second.
Sure.
Approved by the voting members. Anyone that goes to WICRIC claiming to be a voting member is not a voting member. They are in violation of our Wayne 6 bylaws, which clearly state anyone appointed to WCRIC by any other means besides appointment from the chair and the committee of Wayne 6 is not recognized, and this committee, they do not speak on behalf of the Wayne 6th. So I just want to make sure that's clear that Wayne 6th is not part of this resolution.
Right.
It's these people acting as precinct delegates.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a big
it's amazing. And
a big
if the
distinction.
if the state party did change their bylaws, I guess the argument is if there was to be like a lawsuit about this, because what the statute says that there's case history that the state statutes aren't allowed to interfere in the business of the state party, and therefore the bylaws would in theory be upheld. But it also doesn't follow, to me, that WCRIC suddenly gets to automatically be the Wayne County party.
No, and that's
because
the
they're
other
not
thing.
elected.
It's not like all of a sudden whoever's
Yeah.
the chair of WCRIC is going to be the chair of Wayne County. Like, if this were to happen, it would trigger an entirely new election, obviously. Like, there's
Yeah,
no
you'd have to have
way.
another convention.
Oh, you guys just get to run everything. No, because the people that are on WCRIC now are the ones that didn't win Wayne 12th.
Yeah.
That is true. And just so you guys know, we did do a bylaws amendment at our October meeting, where it just, and I consulted with attorneys on this, just so that it was we didn't get ourselves in trouble, but that it says we are a separate legal entity because we file our own MRTs, we have our own bank accounts, leadership, bylaws, and internal procedures, and we operate under our own rules. The only time the district or state we operate under rules from the district or state party is during a convention called by the Michigan Republican Party. So I mean, that they can. I personally, I know we do have some members who think that centralizing the committees is going to be a good thing. However, when I don't see that happening. I don't see county parties or district parties wanting to have to get, have one set of bylaws and have to have approval and have all their money go through state party. You can't, because you are autonomous.
Is this a money grab? Because I know the state party wants Oakland County's money.
But we're autonomous. We already we have to, each of us has to give our own reports. Yeah. We each have to have our own bank accounts. So I just don't see, unless it's, there's only one reason, and I didn't even think about this. I was told this by someone who's much smarter and more political savvy than myself. But because of all the turmoil with state party and Christina and the calls, for her resignation, that by them doing this, it sets her up for another term to get her people into the county or into the district conventions, and to so I
don't understand that.
No, that wouldn't work because
I'm not doubting that person told you that, but I guess I don't.
Yeah, next year we're electing a whole new body of precinct delegates who are going to elect a whole new state committee and everything else. Yeah, the other issue I think is I'm just saying, if you think about it, think of how many open delegate spots we have, and if they start going out and getting people to fill those spots, in the Wayne 12th alone, we have over 800 delegate positions available, and we've only filled 237 of them. Well, we'll just have to out-organize their side, frankly, and I suspect there's going to be a lot of people organizing to recruit precinct delegates between now and the candidate filing deadline. The other thing too to point out is, suppose the state party amends the bylaws to basically consolidate the Wayne County party, but say you guys still have your conventions, and WCRIC has their convention. Now the issue is,
Adam.
What's that?
If they get rid of if they say there's going to be one Wayne County, then Wayne 6 and 12 and 13 would not have a convention.
You could. You could,
Why?
because you still want to elect national delegates. You don't want to cede that power voluntarily just because the state party wackos tell you to. And the thing is, what that would trigger is now the RNC would have to adjudicate.
Well, I mean, that's the equivalent. Yeah.
So,
What is
real
the
quick,
thing
I got there's a good
between-
question in the chat here. Ron Picard asked, bylaws recognize county districts. Is it bylaws or state law that actually creates the county party? Well, there was no contesting. There was no divergence between the statutes and the state party bylaws for many years. So the parties just exist now as legal entities. They're recognized by the state party. So, theoretically, if a county party was to lose recognition by the state party, it wouldn't stop them from existing, but you would have issues with them being able to participate in conventions and so on. But that would also be something that could be contested at a state convention, like at a state convention we had last year, where the state delegates voted to replace the entire Macomb County delegation. That happened just at a convention last year. So ultimately, the delegates at a state convention are going to decide what state delegates they want to seat. So, and at the district caucuses that we have next year for the presidential elections, you could have the members of the district conventions deciding and voting on who's on the credentials committee and who they would get to, who would get to be a credentialed delegate.
Well, I mean, I think 12th would be okay. Wayne's 6th. We know what side that chair is on. So.
Yeah. Jonathan Chapman says she is trying to remove those who disagree with her and solidify support. Look at how many people are just dropping off state committee because of what a shit show her admin is. Yeah, I saw someone yesterday who had a great adjective to describe the state party, and that was diseased. But
So sad. I want to ask Christlieb. I'm sorry. I asked to address this resolution at the next WCRIC meeting. Ann Clark said it would not be allowed. What do you mean by addressing it, Christine? Could you clarify, please? Thanks.
And anyway, we will see how this all develops. But
anyway,
I think,
we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
I mean, if this goes further, the thing is going to be to talk to the state delegates and say, vote no on anything that's going to radically alter Wayne County. This is not our business. This is the state party trying to meddle in counties.
It's a slippery slope, and that's what
Yeah.
all the other counties.
It's a slippery slope to taking away all of our counties' autonomy. Absolutely.
Taking away all of the counties' autonomy, and that's just step one.
Yeah. And the thing is, it might take 3/4 of the state committee members to vote to remove Christina as chair, but it only takes half of them to vote no on this resolution. And that could turn into a referendum on her leadership skills, because obviously we see from that letter that that WCRIC is clearly positioning themselves as Christina supporters.
Yes.
And if it turns into a referendum on Christina, I mean, that could be devastating for her right there if she loses that resolution, if they try to bring this up for a vote.
Okay, question. Do you think that if she got rid of Dan, because I truly believe it's Hartman and Kopis that are the issue with a lot of state committee members. If those two, if she got rid of them and they brought in other people, do you think that any of that would make a difference at all? Or has she lost the trust of state committee? That's what I keep asking
myself. I think it's beyond that, but which is it's hard to say because personally, everybody likes.
I mean, I for one tried to be as deferential as possible with Christina for a while, but I mean, at this point, Mackinac has been a disaster. It's every week there's some new scandal, some new crisis with the party, and it's just boiling hotter and hotter. And if we don't get this done sooner or later, I mean, the election's going to come around, and we're going to get wiped out because we don't have a functioning party.
So Ann Clark wouldn't let me speak at the meeting either. He says I tried and she denied. So Ann quickly did a motion to adjourn and to keep all of this conversation about the new bylaws off the record.
Yeah.
Is my understanding. I wasn't there. I'm sorry. Yeah. We're not allowed there. They call the cops on us because we're so scary.
Yeah. Dwayne says, with the new districts, we've lost a lot of people. We used to work together with this. This is just not good. Wayne County is too big. Yeah. I mean,
we used to be with Livonia.
Yeah. Right? I mean, if anything, one of the things that I'd like to work on in my county at some point is to have even smaller organizations, that we should have a Chelsea Republican Club, a Milan Republican Club, because it's tough to get people together from that far apart. I mean, counties are,
our district is, for me to drive to Grosse Ile is 50 minutes. So the shape of Wayne 6th is geographically challenging.
See,
Yeah.
we're very compact.
I know we're not.
We're good, and
We're not.
we're very lucky that way that we are compact.
Mhm.
And the fact that the majority of the precinct delegates came from the old 13th, where everything was very loosey goosey. We got along because of David Dudenhofer. It was
The dude.
the dude. So a lot of us came from that that aspect, and I have really worked very hard when we wrote our bylaws and everything to keep a lot of what what I learned from him.
Mhm.
So, we're, I don't know. I would hate to lose that kind of autonomy where we would have to, where we
Yeah.
go to one person for the whole county. That would just be,
Yeah, it's amazing how they can worry about everything except for winning the 2024 election.
Yeah, right.
The party is so obsessed with getting involved in county matters and district
That's
matters.
true, Stephen. I know. Sorry, Stephen. I said it's 50 minutes, but there's some districts that are way well.
Yeah.
But this is just a county, though. This is not a district. I'm talking about our county.
Yeah, it's a sub county. But
So,
District 1 is crazy because of just how huge it is. When I first the first campaign I worked on after the Ron Paul presidential campaign in 2008, I was trying to help someone running for Congress in the 1st district, and I went to the campaign thinking, oh, this will be nothing, just one congressional district compared to the whole country. And of course, you have no idea how vast 33 counties in Michigan can be until you've got to drive through all of them. But anyway, I do want to kind of get us back to the theme of the show tonight and talking about the Democrats' war on free speech. And that's going to be covering a lot of these bills that went through Lansing this week. Although, actually, before we do that, though, I did want to follow up on one thing on thoughts about the speaker, because besides Mike Johnson getting in, the other thing to say was we had this protest in Warren this past Wednesday at John James's district office, which I was driving out there when I got the news that Mike Johnson was elected unanimously. And this was after days and days and days of us lighting him up in the emails and constituents blasting him on the phones. And lo and behold, he voted yes this time. I suspect the others that were holding out on Jim Jordan were also getting equally lit up in their districts by people who were absolutely furious. And, we had a good 50 people there, which, you always want there to be more people at a demonstration, but, we ended up stretching like across this entire block. And I'll tell you, we got a whole lot of supportive honks from people that were driving by just constantly. And, some of those people might have been Democrats, but hey, who cares? The fact that John James is seeing all these angry people doesn't make him look good. That's for sure. And the other thing, too, is I can't think of any other time there's been a Republican organized protest against a Republican politician. I mean, if you guys can think of anything or in the chat, let me know. But I can't think of any time. Yeah, Christine says great protest. Yeah, lots of honks. Yes, there were. But yeah, I can't think of any time that there's been Republicans protesting a Republican incumbent before. And I think that probably was shaking too. So, and that's the power of putting heat onto politicians. And, I made the point at the rally, I made the point on the show last week, but just to say again, if people just rolling over and letting rhinos tell them what to do and saying, you gotta support us anyway, leads to rhinos doing more rhino things. But when they get angry voters, they can't afford to alienate a big part of the constituency, especially when you barely won your race the last time around. So I think we made our point. And I got, I posted this photo. Actually, now that I look at it, the photo's a little bit pixelated, but I do want to just show this because I did this is my favorite sign that this guy had at the rally. John James Judas. That's my friend John. He's an old buddy from John Riley's old district. And you can see some of those signs there. There's James a Disgrace, Out with the Rhino, Bye Bye John James. I had another photo someplace that had let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on. It was a photo of let me find it here if I can. There's a photo that had a photo of a leaking faucet. It said John James's excuses don't hold water. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. If I not, we'll move on. Yeah, I'm having trouble finding it. Oh wait, maybe I found it. No, maybe not. Oh well. All right, we're gonna have to just move on. Let's talk about these free speech bills because boy, this is it is heartbreaking, depressing to see the things that are just happening constantly in Lansing. And man, when I looked at the pile of bills this week, 100 new bills in the House alone. And we're going to go through some of them tonight. By the way, John King says, please don't put James in the same group as Liz Cheney. Why not? Maybe not quite as bad, but Front Picard says should have had his chopper crashing and burning. That's just mean. I'm glad we didn't have that. Honestly, I don't wish personal harm on politicians, no matter what their voting record is. Although I'll tell you, some of these Democrat bills make it hard not to. Let's just see what we've got from this week. And by the way, I did notice last week when I did my bill report, there was no bill signed into law, but there had been. I think they just were not updated. The list of PAs was just not updated in a timely manner. So I might just make a new page that just lists off all the PAs because there were some that were signed into law the week before, but there were some bad ones in here. Putting gender fluid language in, that's lovely. More regulations. But then we have this whole pile of bills in the Senate. A lot of Republican amendments. All these things were just trying to either mitigate the bad effects of the bill. One of the amendments was really just to say it should be called the Unaffordable and Unreliable Energy Act or something like that. They just want to change the name of the bill.
All right. So I was reading this earlier. So does that mean they voted on that many times?
Yes. In the House, they don't do this, but in the Senate, when they demand a roll call, they have to have a roll call vote on the amendments. So every one of these was a separate Republican amendment to do one thing or another.
But we don't know what the amendment was.
Oh, you can look it up. I don't.
Okay. All right.
I don't usually even just bother posting because most of the time it's just they know they're going to lose. So what's the point? Occasionally I will make a note of what the amendment was, but if you go to here, I'll pull it up here. So if you see in, let's see here, it was it looks like it was on the 26th. So if I go to the Journal, the Senate, that's the House Journal, the Senate come on. The Senate Journal, let's see here. Here's these amendments and let's see what they say. So like this amendment says if a statewide average customer electric rate increases exceed 20% after the effective date, the commission shall by order permanently suspend the application of the Unitary Act. So if your rates go up by 20% or more, the law will be suspended. If the rates go up by 30% or more, your rates will be, the bill would be suspended. If the rate fails to lower costs, the bill will be suspended, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're doing all these things. Here's the amendment to just strike out the balance of the line and inserting the Unreliable and Unaffordable Energy Act. So just a bill of amendment to rename the bill. So usually I don't really bother posting what the details of all these amendments are because, they're all just Republican amendments, talking points. They don't really, they know they're not going to pass, but they're always to drive home the point that Democrats aren't supporting anything more reasonable. So they do have all this. They do have all these amendments, and I will post all the recorded roll call votes. But I mean, the big thing is the bill just passed. So there's that, and of course, there's also at the same time some new bills in the House to screw you over even further because they have these new. Oops, that's not the one. It's the next one. Create a rate making standard that now says, let's see what it says here. Here's the bill. And they shall do an equity study. Let's see here. Evaluate the method. Huh?
There's that word.
Yep. Let's see where it is here. Well, it's in here someplace. And establish a proceeding and energy regulate. Energy bills are very cumbersome to read through. Incentives and penalties that pertain to issues such as customer satisfaction, safety, reliability, environmental impact, and social obligations. So, they just sneak that in there. And there's this whole package of bills. And yeah, different customer rates require the commission to establish. What are they going to establish the rates based on? Let's see. Eligible to fixed income households means that if you get food stamps, Medicaid, et cetera, you know, and then all the rest. So yeah, price discrimination for your energy. So if you can't afford your increasing electric bills, well, don't worry, we'll make somebody else pay for them too. So the other rates are going to go up even more. So there's lots of bad bills, and you know, we could be here all night covering all these, but the ones I wanted to really talk about are your First Amendment rights issues, because there's a lot of really bad bills here to go through. Also, by the way, the misdemeanor gun bills are going through the House. Weird, I was told last week that Republicans' anti-gun bills were supposed to stop that. Guess that didn't happen. But here we go. Let's see here. We have, let's see here. Here's a free speech issue restricting charter school advertising and marketing, because all they want to do is stick it to charter schools. So they're having disclosure mandates to go on all advertising for charter schools. There's also a bill in here somewhere that mandates that charter schools post the salaries of their employees onto the internet. Let's see if I can find that one. Here we go. 5269 mandate charter schools post salary information on their websites, because that's not, you know, a violation of anybody's financial privacy. And then there's this whole pile of bills. There's even more than these, but these are the newest ones to require candidates and elected officials report their personal finances. And I've seen some Republican bills that are trying to do this too. And to me, this is all a First Amendment violation, because it's
that's Prop 1.
Huh?
That's Prop 1 that passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the laws for Prop 1. Yeah.
Yeah, which should be opposed also on First Amendment grounds, and maybe someone's going to file suit about that. But again, nothing compels the legislature.
I know Republicans who voted for it. They're going, "Oh, that's a good idea." No, it's not.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that there are and a bunch of Republicans supported some of these, which I noted in my no, that was a different bill. That was the hate thought crimes bill. We'll talk about that one in a second. But yeah, just recently there was some Democrat versions of these bills in the Senate I saw introduced by Thomas Albert. I didn't see any co-sponsors on them, but I've had some discussions with some Republicans about this, and there's lots of bills, like Jim Runstead likes these bills that prohibit former politicians from from lobbying for several years, which I mean, I get the incentive because there's a revolving door and et cetera, but first of all, I don't like any regulations on lobbying, because it's a First Amendment issue. You have the right to advocate to pass or defeat legislation, period. That's what the Constitution says. That's your permission slip. It's your First Amendment. But what the intention, of course, is twofold. One is to intimidate people out of running for office, because they might be exposing themselves to legal problems if they misreport something. And of course, the Democrats will have an army of people going through every single one of these filings and making up campaign ads attacking you for your personal finances. And besides that, you know, are you going to be forced to just, I mean, let's look at what some of these say. Let's see, let's just pick the first one here. Here is 5249. This is for candidates for the office of state representative to file. What are they going to do? Now, this is all a new bill. This is not an amendatory act. So this would be entirely a new law called the Candidate for State Representative Financial Disclosure Act. And what this means is that you must report, let's see, must include all the following: the name of the candidate, the full name, the address, source and type of all income, including earned and unearned income received by the candidate for office, description of each real property or property that the candidate for office has ownership interest in, including all commercial, industrial, agricultural buildings, description of any stocks, bonds, commodities, futures, shares of mutual funds, other forms of securities, all the liabilities that you owe, the identity of all compensated positions held by the candidate for office as an officer, member, director, trustee, partner, proprietor, representative, employee, or consultant of a corporation, LLC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All gifts and expenditures for food and beverage reported by a lobbyist or agent under state law. All expenses paid for or reimbursed by a lobbyist or lobbyist agent recorded under state law. And again, I think all lobbying regulations are unconstitutional, but that's just my personal opinion. And if you have a family member who is a lobbyist, then all people that ever gave money to that. That's a lot of things, and that's only the beginning of it. I wonder if there's something in here about donations you've given to political organizations. I would have to go through this carefully, but obviously this is bad enough as it is. All of these are First Amendment issues, and all these are designed to discourage you from running for office. And by the way, these bills all skipped committee. They were introduced this past week. They did not get a committee assignment. They referred directly to second reading of bills. So they're going to probably vote on these all next week. We shall see what the Republicans do. I have a feeling there's going to be quite a few that vote yes on these. And shame on each of them, whoever they might turn out to be. We also have, let's see what other new bills we've got this week. And as I'm skimming through, there's just so many other things that bother me. Banning homeowners associations from prohibiting solar cells. I mean, that's to me a free association issue, right? Prohibiting employers from requesting the criminal histories of job applicants. That's the bill moving forward. There's all kinds of bills attacking landlords that I saw came in this past week. What else do we have here? Yeah, lots of things. Mandating evictions be expunged from court records. So much for your right to know. This goes on and on and on and on and on. Actually, a few good Republican bills, prohibiting gain of function research, which of course was sent to the committee where they never see the light of day. As was this one, allowing prescription of off-label drugs. This guy's got a bill to include the health registry to report adverse events of vaccinations, but these are bills these guys know are not going to get anywhere. You've got even bad Republican bills. Hey, let's have a new grape and wine council. That sounds lovely. What else do we have here? Oh, here's a big one. These two bills. Let's take a look at these, shall we? Prohibiting those affiliated with groups labeled hate groups from becoming police officers. This goes to kind of what now Speaker Mike Johnson was just getting at. Who decides? Who decides? Let's see what Emily Devendorf, who, by the way, is a radical transgender activist before becoming a state rep. Let's see what her bill says. Hate crime means transferring, let's see. A crime motivated by prejudice. Hate group means an organization that supports, advocates for, or practices genocide or the commission of hate crimes. What's hate crimes mean? Being anything motivated by a crime motivated by prejudice on the actual or perceived race, color, religion, sexual orientation, physical, mental disability. Okay. Who decides? Who decides? They don't say. It just simply says, an employing law enforcement agency shall investigate an allegation or refer the investigation of an allegation to the department if a member of the public files a complaint alleging with sufficient particularity that in the previous 7 years and since 18 years of age, the law enforcement officer employed by that state law enforcement agency was a member of a hate group. Well, gosh, I mean, obviously that's going to cover the, the Proud Boys and stuff. Or a public expression of hate. A public expression of hate. Well, apparently right now, people on the left and right are being accused of being homophobic, transphobic, and by that same exact token, anti-Semitic. So who knows who they're banning from becoming cops, which again is, yeah. Christine says the SPLC decides. The biggest hate group in America decides based on their map of hate group. So those bills were introduced just this past week. What else do we have here? We've got, I know there are more. I did see, and people in Lansing are telling me they're going to bring up the thought crimes bill in the Senate this coming week. But I think there was even more than that. Let's see here. New bills. What else do we have? Let me start from the bottom. See, yeah, more of these bills. Oh, look, this one's, oh, no, that's a separate thing. Allowing campaign committees to pay candidates late filing fees. Let's see. A lot of bills, by the way, this week for trial lawyers. Tons of expanding lawsuits and increasing damages and this and that. All stuff the trial lawyers are going to have a field day with, which is what it's all about, really. Oh, here we go. Your right to contest an election. Let's look at Senate Bill 603. Oops, this is not Senate Bill 603. Where's Senate Bill 603? Here we go. Senate Bill 603, introduced by Stephanie Chang. What does it say here? Board of Canvass and all recounts must be connected to procedures. So they're restricting the recount process. Any procedure intended to restrain, enjoin, modify, control, reverse, or otherwise interfere with the action of a board of county canvassers operating under the provision of a county board of canvassers only instituted only by mandamus, meaning by court order. Only by a court order. And what does it say here? If a ballot question committee participates in an election where there was a question on the ballot and believes that but for error, the commissioner of the opposite result, they might file a recount petition. But there must, at a minimum, be greater than difference of the yes votes and no votes on the proposed ballot question. So, for example, when John Riley won his primary by 35 votes, the opposing party had no reason to believe that there was more ballots in contest than that. But he asked for a recount anyway. And he, as it turned out, half of those votes were wrong. His final result was like 17 votes he won by. So it's restricting your ability to do recounts. And there was a couple of the bills, it wasn't this one, but I think they came in last week, to say that only election contests can be challenged in the state court of claims. And there's one of them that says you can't even challenge any presidential election at all. Let me see if I can find where that bill number was. That one came in, I think, the week before. But let me see if I can find that one.
And Adam, wasn't Erica Geis, her abortion on demand bill, wasn't that introduced in the Senate?
Yep, that was, let's see if that was this week. That might have been last week, but I'll take a look real quick. Let's see. Yeah, Senate bills 594 and 595, which I think actually both passed this week.
Yeah.
Let's see. And John King says the Court of Claims is controlled by the Dems. Yep. Yeah, those judges are appointed, not elected. Yeah, there was some Republican, 593 was the bill, and it passed this past Thursday. But let me see real quick if I can find that that bill that just says you can't contest the presidential election. These are massively unconstitutional bills, but you would need, someone's got to take these things to court, and that's a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of risk. Let's see here. Hold on one sec. See if I can find that bill number. Looks like it is Senate Bill 591, and let me pull that up here. I know you guys love the dead air when I'm doing this, right? Here we go. Here's the bill 591, prohibit legal challenge of the presidential election, introduced by Mary Kavanaugh, and it's already moving out of committee. It's already been reported favorably from the committee.
Awesome.
Yep. Here's the bill says. A person shall not bring an action for quo warranto that relates to the outcome of an election for electors of the president and vice president of the United States. And that's how you vote for the president, is by voting for the electors. Mark Ashley Price says, you're right. The MASB is obviously left wing, although I didn't know it initially. Personally, I'm not conservative, not liberal, but I'm libertarian. That's the Michigan Association of School Boards he's referring to. Yep. So there you go, folks. That is all. Well, and that's a lot of anti-First Amendment bills being introduced in 1 week, by the way. That's quite a lot. So
They can stop, and they're relentless. That's for sure.
No, and the only thing that we can do is use this information and talk to people in your precinct. I mean, precinct leadership is the name of the game, and we need to start early, starting this year, because the one thing that I think is so frightening is people are going to hear about these bills and go, no way, they're not really doing that. I can't believe that. And, Democrats are going to say that no matter what, because they're delusional, but more people talking about this, the better. Like last week we talked about, there was a bill to have the government distribute heroin needles and potentially crack pipes as well. And one of the people in my county, in your county, Patty, Regina Miller, sponsored that bill. And people need to know this stuff, because they, if you hear about it 2 weeks before the election, it's not going to have enough time to imprint.
I know. And that's why we've had data, we've had IP60 since April and Wayne 6th. And
yeah,
I've had 2 people ask me for a walkbook.
I've distributed lots and lots and lots of precinct voter files, and I'm starting to see campaigns organized too. One of our candidates, challenging Regina Miller, actually,
Yeah, Dale.
is starting to organize walk days. But yeah, to Christine's question, what is the plan? The plan is to target the most vulnerable Democrats in their districts, and make as many voters aware of all of the incredible things that they've been supporting, and organize these voters. And that's going to mean, number one, is informing these voters, identifying voters, and making sure that they all don't fail to vote in the upcoming election. And that's the essence of the precinct strategy, because one person can't win the whole state, but collectively, if we all work on our precincts, you can find multiple Republicans in your precinct who are mad about what's going on. And if you knock on doors, you'll find some.
That's what it is.
Yep.
It's bottom up. And I mean, like, I will be working with Washtenaw to try to beat Regina Miller. We'll be working with Paula to try to beat Matt Kolazar. And, we'll be working down and try to beat Jamie Churches down in the Lucille, Trenton area. I mean,
absolutely.
And help Jamie Thompson
and keep Jamie and keep DeSanta. Like, I mean,
yeah. Oscar Barton says, vote early, recruit lazy Republicans, get their AB in as early as possible. Yeah, that's going to be a huge thing. Is getting Republicans signed up for voting absentee. I know people don't want to do it. And certainly I always tell people, you don't have to, voting absentee does not mean voting by mail. You can go to your clerk's office, you can get your ballot, fill it out right then and there, and give it right back to them. You don't need to use a drop box. You don't need to use the postal service. But getting those votes in early allows us to target the people that haven't voted yet by the time it's election day. Anthony says, what's scary is these same Democrats would be against these bills. The majority of working class families are not asking for that. Where are the Dems getting their agenda from? Yeah, that's where, we have to make the argument that what the Democrats used to believe in, they no longer do.
No, it's not 1960.
No, it's not the party of working people. It's the party of banksters and corporate elites and crazy Marxists. And these bills are a testimony to that. Everything the Democrats have done has been for either part of the radical agenda or getting huge amounts of money to their lobbyists, whether it's right to work being repealed for the union money, whether it's all these trial lawyers bills. That's what the name of the game is.
Christine, do you have a winnable seat in the 13th? I don't know which House seats are over in the 13th State House.
He says we're hosting Matt Seyfried for our 13th CD strategic planning. Good. Matt Seyfried's a great guy. He helped organize the poll workers campaign.
And workers first. Workers more important, guys.
Well, yeah. I will tell you something that we have decided to do is, and I think it's a smart thing, is we are so heavy Democrat in the 12th that we are helping, well, except for District 22, which is Kolazar, he's vulnerable. But then we're going to have to help because we don't have, there's, for the 25th for Kevin Coleman's seat, if he doesn't win the mayor, we don't have, I haven't come across a strong enough candidate because one of Rashida Tlaib's people who works in her office has already filed a committee, exploratory committee for that seat.
Yeah. That's another thing where knocking on doors is so important, is that's how you find good candidates to run. You find people, and you also, by the way, if you've got a precinct voter file, sometimes you can, there's searches you can do with those files, looking for people with very high Republican scores and people who are, in the right time in their life, people that have money, people that don't have young children at home, but aren't terribly old, so they'll still be able to knock on doors. And you can start looking for someone that fits the profile. And even then, the first person you ask might just say no. When that happens, there's nothing you can do. That guy in the photo earlier, I asked to run for the Mike Harris seat, the seat that Mike Harris now has, and he didn't want to do it. And there's nothing to do about that. You can't compel someone to run for office. And it is frankly a huge time commitment, and not everyone wants to do it. But
now they want to know every nickel and dime you have.
Yep. And
personally.
you just have to find
Not
people
your
who are brave
campaign
enough to
account,
do
right?
it.
Not your campaign account, your personal stuff.
Yep. Stephanie asks, any scoop on why so many Republicans voted for the anti-speech bills 4476 and 4477? Because they didn't know any better. Let me look at I'll pull the bills up real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about here.
How long are they not going to know better? This continues.
Yeah. And until, well, you got to knock them on their heads until they listen. So that's why I keep naming them in our emails. Hopefully some of them, start to get some sense. Like here's, let me pull the bill up. Hold on. I'm looking at the bills and it was, hold on, 4476. And here's the bill here, expand penalties for hate crime. There's the vote. Look at all those Republicans voting yes. It looks like probably as many or more voted. Yeah, 26 total votes for no out of 50. Let's see, Bruck was probably not here yet. No, Bruck was back and voted yes. So there was 54 Republicans, 26 voted no, which means math, 28 voted yes. More Republicans voted yes than voted no on these. But here's the bill. And you can see why Republicans who aren't sharp wouldn't know better, because this is what it says: you're guilty of institutional desecration if that person maliciously and intentionally destroys, damages, defaces, vandalizes, or threatens by word or act. So people look at this and they say, oh, this sounds bad. They're committing institutional desecration, they're violating things. And they don't look at the fine print and go, oh wait, or threatens by word, which is there's very specific definitions of what true threats mean, and courts have condoned all kinds of abuses over this, like with Lucas Gerhardt, someone who was accused of threatening to shoot up a school for having done nothing more than just posting a photo of his rifle and making a joke about it. Courts are very bad about this, and someone's life can be destroyed by a malicious prosecution. I'm sorry, I forgot to put the actual bill up. This is the bill itself. I was reading it, but there it is. So someone takes a glance at this and thinks, oh, this sounds good. I don't want to be accused of being against, hate crimes and whatever. And they don't think about the unintended consequences, and they don't think carefully about the First Amendment. And, what typically they do in the Republican caucus is they get this memo. Oops, let me go back to this way. They get this memo that just says, here's the arguments for and against the bills. And almost never do he have any real arguments that I would express against the bills. I remember when I looked in John Riley would vote against bills all the time, where the memo would just say, the caucus memo would just say, we can't think of any reason you would vote no on this. And that's like it. Then they see who's in support of this bills, and they run off a laundry list of organizations, and that's all it takes. And actually, I like Kelly's point here. Republican reps need to unify and vote no on every on every bill like the left does. And yeah, that should be their first clue. Every single bill the Democrats are passing is designed to improve their political advantage or to cause harm to the Constitution. That's what every single bill they're doing is. So your first inclination should be looking for what's wrong with this. Like that's what, in fact, I remember almost to a fault when Justin Amash was in Congress, his office, you could tell he was like looking for any reason to vote no on every bill. And that's a smart instinct when the Democrats are in charge, because they aren't bringing in bills to do any favors for anybody other than themselves. Mark says Anthony Carbonaro would be a great candidate for Congress in the 13th district. I don't know who that is. I'll take your word for it.
He just commented earlier in the chat.
Oh, okay. Where? Oh, I see. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there you go. Anthony Carbonaro. All right. Good to know. Well, I certainly would support someone that watches this channel to be a candidate. So there you go. Dwayne says, it will soon be dangerous to talk to anyone or leave your home. Yeah, nobody is safe in the Democrats' country. And the reality is you don't even have to do anything illegal. Lucas Gerhardt did nothing illegal. And the other reality is that's what they want you to do, is to be as safe as possible by saying nothing and not organizing. And you have to do the opposite. And you have to face that fear, face those threats. That's what the civil liberties movement did in the 1960s. They knew they faced real threats from the cops and from, and from white people in government. And they said, you know what, we're going to do everything that we're supposed to be afraid to do. We're going to demonstrate regardless of the fire hoses and the attack dogs and everything else. And if we all do it, they said, we'll be okay. And that was how they ultimately won. And we have to be the same way. And say, you know what, we are not going to back down. We're going to continue to challenge elections when we believe fraud occurred. And no matter what they try to do to us, we're going to keep doing it. Because that's what they want to do. They want there to be no election contest. They want to be allowed to cheat every election and not face any blowback. And we have to continue to resist. Mark says, I hope Hassan, one of our current MIGP vice chairs, will be a candidate for Congress in the 12th next year. He was a candidate for
Hassan in the 12th, Paula?
What's that?
Yeah, he is. He's in Tier
Yeah,
1.
he's one of my delegates.
Yeah, I know Hassan. Not my, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in Tier 1. What am I saying? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in
That's
Dearborn
what Barton
Heights,
says.
but yeah.
You've got reps like Roth doing sister bills with Kofia, giving her free campaign boost and being bipartisan when all actually she's a far left radical. TC needs to recall her ass. Yeah, Traverse City. Yeah, well, I mean, they should beat her in the next election. But yeah, this is the other problem with all these people who say, I'm in a tough district. I have to vote with the Democrats because I have to vote my district. All the message you're sending to your district is to Democrats. You're saying Democrats aren't so bad. And you're demoralizing your own base. So I don't see the winning strategy in doing any of that stuff, but that's the way a lot of them think. And I think it's a bad idea. But that's what they do. All right, guys, it's after 10 o'clock. And I, for one, have had an exhausting week. But I know it's going to be another exhausting week next. I do have a vacation coming up soon. I'm looking forward to that around Thanksgiving time. And who knows, maybe the Democrats will actually follow their promises and will
Close early.
And close early. Looking forward to December. That would be nice. And I actually remember for once that if you like this kind of content, folks,
Like, share.
Yep. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, because I don't usually remember to say that, but there you go. Hit that like button and let people know that there's actually one organization out there telling people how their lawmakers are voting. Because, you know, I'll
Have you looked at Rumble in a second?
I don't see any new comments on Rumble, actually, but people are watching. There's people watching on Rumble. It says there's more people watching on Rumble than they're watching on Facebook and YouTube. But I think actually the number I'm seeing does not include Facebook. It's very, very confusing. And all these numbers, you know, don't ever seem to quite make sense to me. But, you know, it is
A lot
what
of
it is.
people watch after, right? After the
Yeah, we always
fact.
get a lot more people that watch after. I mean, when I watch other people's streams, I almost never watch live. And even when I tune in and catch them live, I like to rewind to the beginning because I don't like to just jump in the middle. Because, you know, I don't participate in the chats very often anyway. So that's the only advantage.
That's the funnest part.
Huh? Well, you know, I know. I love reading chats, and I wish more people participate in the chats. But I know personally from my own behavior, I'm just saying it's totally normal for people to tune in later.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we will probably have a live stream on Wednesday because I know Shane wanted to talk about some things, and he seems to have a lot of trouble coming on Sundays.
Yeah, Wednesdays are nice.
Yeah, and who knows, there might be more news coming up by next Wednesday. So we'll probably have a live stream on Wednesday, but we shall see. Other than that,
Wednesday is November 1. Tuesday's Halloween. Monday's Devil's Night. What?
Oh boy. Don't go to Detroit.
I think they've cleaned that up. I mean, I haven't heard about it. Well, not that I watch local news, but
yeah, not that I pay much attention to it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. All I can say in light of all this is use this information. Knowledge is power. Make sure you're informing your neighbors about these things. Knock on doors. If you guys don't know, you can get your precinct voter file at rescuemichigan.com, and it's pretty dang good data. And there's a lot you can do with it.
Or if you're in Wayne 6, ask me.
Yep, and Patty has data. If you're in the Wayne 6. In Washington County, we have all that data available too. You can contact the Washington County Republican Party. And some other counties have this data too. I've gotten data to whole counties around Michigan in the past. So it is out there. So, yeah. All right. John says, great discussion. Thank you, John. Thanks you for the kind words, and to everyone else in chat as well. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, thanks for all you guys do for liberty. Peace out.